shortly, but we spoke to Gus Seebeck from 1HD in Channel 10 the other day about the Foot Locker Elite Classic basketball tournament coming up in Adelaide in April. We decided to go to the managing director of that because so a couple of stories I read off the wires in the last couple of days not concerned me, just piqued my interest in what might happen in this competition. And Jeff Van Groningen has been good enough to join us. He's the managing director of the Elite Classic Basketball Comp. Hello, Jeff.
How are you doing, Daniel? Good to speak with you.
Nice to speak to you. As I said to Gus the other day, it's a great initiative for basketball in the country. Anyone that's covering basketball or watching basketball after the turmoil it's been in domestically for the last couple of seasons, this is a great thing that has been come up with, and I think you're the founder of the idea. But what I read and what concerned me was that there'd be no NBL players playing in it. Where are you going to get the players from?
Look, well, that's going to be very interesting, Daniel, just in terms of that position, if that is indeed the case. We haven't been informed centrally from anyone at this point if that is the case, so we'll wait and see. But look, the model itself, which you have talked about some on your station, is not actually predicated on requiring the NBL players, and at no stage did we actually plan for the NBL players to be a necessary part of the event. Now, obviously, it doesn't take a genius to work out that if the NBL players are available, they make ideal candidates to start filling roster positions. But I think there's an interesting numbers game at play here that people may not be thinking about, and that is the fact that in the NBL right now there's 8 teams. Several years ago there was as many as 13 teams, and we're talking, not ancient history either. So there is a numbers game at play. There are a lot of players out there that we feel are very capable players, and then that's before you consider overseas players, and we've had amazing overseas interest already since the announcement in Adelaide last Thursday. It's only been a few days. There's returning college players that are Australians that have been over in the US competition, which, as you know, is very, very strong and in many ways probably an NBL equivalent. There's returning European players. I mean, there's a vast variety of different players that may wish to play. And then, somewhat like the IPL cricket, you've also got the issue of retired NBL players. So even if current NBL players couldn't play, I think it's one thing for a guy to step out of the game and say, look, I've had it, as you know, in your sport. It's all about long pre-seasons and gearing up to play. I mean, as you know, it's a big grind to play any lengthy competition every year of your sporting life. But to be presented with the chance to come and have something over the course of a week, I think most players that have stepped out of the game in recent years would think they're more than capable of doing that. And ironically enough, they're probably as well known or better known than perhaps current players in various leagues. So I'm actually very relaxed about filling those roster spots, and I really look forward to it. Have you
been able to garner support from the NBL, the governing body, or Basketball Australia, because it's not a sanctioned event from their point of view, but are they supporting you in what you're trying to do?
Look, the original statement that Basketball Australia made was that they made it very clear, as we realised, because we did actually go and see them, prior to the announcement, and they made it very clear that, they weren't able to actually sanction the event because it wasn't actually a Basketball Australia or NBL initiative. So they took the view that it was a private enterprise venture, and they were happy to acknowledge it as such. But therefore, because it was a private enterprise situation, they didn't feel it was appropriate to necessarily endorse it or disendorse it. So their original position was that they just believed it was an event out there that shows that basketball obviously is doing things, but it wasn't their event. That was purely and simply their position, and one that we respect. So in terms of what they think of it beyond that, it's probably more for them to commentate on than me, but that was certainly how they put it out there in the week of the announcement, and we were more than happy with that.
We've had good corporate support. Foot Locker have obviously the naming rights sponsor. Sporting have jumped on board. You've got another radio partner. You've got 1HD covering the action, 8 hours of live action every day, which is fantastic. So it's going to be great for the sport, regardless of who's sanctioning it and who's supporting it. It's going to be great for the sport to get basketball back on television again.
Oh, I think so. And then, of course, one guy that you would know, Buddy Franklin,
yes.
Stepping in and saying, look, I like the game. We've actually got 4 more team rights ownership positions to still announce, and I can tell you there's some very big names that are circling around. We've actually got about 12 interested groups for those remaining 4 spots.
I couldn't afford it, Jeff. I couldn't afford it.
We know you're a little bit busy doing your thing, but no, look, there has been great interest, and as you stated, the corporate interest has been very, very strong. Just on Spalding, to touch on them for a minute, one of the reasons we're so excited about Spalding is they're actually devising a new basketball for the event. I just heard your report that about the cricket and the fact that they're going to trial pink balls and all this sort of thing. Well, we've got our own ball being devised at the moment by Spalding, so that's very, very exciting.
Right.
The rules changes in the event, I think by all across the board in basketball have been met with, anywhere between curiosity, outright support, interest. It's just got people talking about things, and I think, I'm a big believer in not reinventing the wheel. I think that other sports have shown that if you take what is a very, very good game, make a few changes to it in terms of fan interest, crowd interest, television audience viewing interest. The idea of these backboards, for example, Daniel, of lighting up in bright green for a 3-minute period of the game when the coach or on-court captain calls for a game breaker, which is really like our equivalent of a cricket power play.
Yep.
And for that 3 minutes, for the long bombs that go in to be worth 4, I mean, you could have 5-point plays if a guy's fouled while he's shooting a three-pointer and it goes down. I mean, that's the way to eliminate a lead, or indeed stretch a lead, with severe quickness.
Well,
and,
it does
I
sound
think
great.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, we spoke to Gus about some of those initiatives last week, and he was really excited about it. I think that the basketball public and the sporting public will really embrace that as well. They've done it with 2020 in the power plays and that sort of business as we talk. So I think it's a great idea. I wish you all the best, Jeff. I hope it goes really well for you, because heaven knows basketball needs some help in this country. Good luck.
Thanks very much, Daniel. I appreciate it.
Jeff Van Groningen, the Managing Director of the Elite Classic Basketball, coming up in April in Adelaide, live on 1HD. You can catch all the action. There's some big names involved on the court and off it, which is great for basketball in this country. Coming up after this break, the halftime quiz. Get on the line, 9429.